All right, you ready? So today we're going through two messed up Reddit stories, and a couple of these really got to me. Subscribe for more, and let's get started. I found photos of myself sleeping in an abandoned cabin on the trail 3 days into the wilderness, and she thought she was alone. I'm 27 female, a freelance graphic designer, and solo hiking has been my escape for the past 5 years. My older brother got me into it. He used to drag me on weekend trails when I was in college, and eventually I started going out alone. There's something about being off-grid for a week that clears my head in a way nothing else can. I'm on day 3 of a backcountry loop in the Pacific Northwest. Yesterday afternoon, I decided to veer about 2 miles off my planned route to check out what looked like an old structure on my topo map. Took me an hour of bushwhacking to reach it, a ranger cabin, clearly abandoned for years. Windows broken, door hanging crooked on rusted hinges, moss climbing the north wall. I went inside to get out of the drizzle. On a dusty table in the center of the room were 6 Polaroid photographs, arranged in 2 neat rows of 3. They were all of me. The first one showed me asleep in my tent. My mouth was slightly open, hair splayed across my face, and I could see the edge of my bright blue sleeping bag in the frame. Written on the white border in black marker, the date from 2 nights ago and the time, 2:47 a.m. The second photo, me cooking dinner over my campfire. Date stamped yesterday, 7:23 p.m. Third, me crouched by a stream filtering water into my bottle. Yesterday, 10:14 a.m. 3 more photos, all from the past 2 days. All candid shots I never posed for. All time-stamped at moments when I thought I was completely alone. The angle of that sleeping photo made my hands start shaking. Whoever took it had been crouched less than 10 feet from the side of my tent, close enough that I should have heard breathing, footsteps, the click of the camera. The photos looked fresh, no dust on them, no fading. The cabin itself was filthy, covered in years of grime and spider webs, but those Polaroids were crisp and clean, like they'd been placed there this morning. Someone has been following me for 3 days. Someone has been watching me sleep, and she was still 2 days from the nearest trailhead. She forced herself to look at the rest. I made myself pick up each photo with shaking hands. The fourth one showed me adjusting my backpack straps at what I recognize as my first campsite. Date stamped 3 nights ago, 4:52 p.m. The fifth was me sitting on a fallen log eating a protein bar. 2 days ago, 1:33 p.m. The sixth photo made my stomach drop. It was taken from behind while I was filtering water at a creek yesterday morning. The angle was high, like someone had been standing on the opposite bank, maybe 15 feet away. I remember that moment perfectly. I'd felt completely alone, surrounded by nothing but trees and birdsong. I'd been humming to myself. I was about to bolt from the cabin when I saw the map. Pinned to the far wall was a topographic map of this entire region. My heart stopped when I realized what I was looking at. Someone had traced a route in red marker. I recognized the trailhead where I'd started 4 days ago. The line followed the main trail, then veered off exactly where I'd gone off route yesterday. But it didn't stop there. The red line continued forward, snaking through terrain I hadn't reached yet. There were small X marks at 3 locations ahead of me, spots that looked like ideal campsites near water sources, places I absolutely would have chosen. I never told anyone my exact route. I filed a general itinerary with the ranger station listing possible trails, but I've been improvising daily based on weather and how I feel. I didn't even decide where I'd camp tonight until a few hours ago. So how the hell did someone mark my future campsites 2 days in advance? The cabin was falling apart. Broken windows, rotted floorboards, everything coated in years of dust and decay. But those Polaroids were pristine. That red marker looked fresh, the ink still glossy. Someone's been tracking me for days. Someone knows where I'm going before I do. And they were still out there. She had to get out. Now. I forced myself to search the rest of the cabin. Old ranger gear hung on pegs, moldy paperwork sat in piles, everything buried under grime and spiderwebs. Everything except that table in the center where the photos had been arranged. That surface was clean, wiped down, recent. I made the decision right there. I was hiking out immediately. I practically ran the 2 miles back to the main trail, then started pushing south toward the nearest ranger station. 14 miles to cover before it closed at sunset. I walked fast, almost jogging on the flat sections. Every snapping twig made me spin around. Every rustle in the underbrush stopped me cold. The sun set and I kept going, headlamp bobbing in the darkness. My legs were screaming, but I couldn't stop. Couldn't close my eyes knowing someone had been crouched outside my tent for 3 nights in a row, camera in hand. I reached the ranger station just after dawn, completely exhausted. The rangers took me seriously. I showed them the exact location on their map, described the photos in detail, told them about the marked route. They said they'd send someone to investigate within 48 hours. I called Claire from the parking lot. She'd been checking on my cat and my 2 birds while I was gone. I told her I was coming home early, that something had happened, but I was safe. I just wanted to get back to my apartment and lock every door and window. I haven't slept properly since. This is absolutely terrifying. Please tell me you reported this immediately and didn't stay out there another night. Check your phone and any apps with location tracking. Also your email and cloud storage. If someone knew your exact route that you didn't share, they had digital access to your planning documents. Did you check the photos for any reflections or background details that might identify the photographer? Sometimes they slip up and catch themselves in glass or water. I've replayed every detail in my head 1,000 times. In the photo of me cooking dinner, there's a faint reflection on my water bottle. I can't make out a face, but there's definitely a human silhouette standing in the trees behind me. I was completely oblivious. The cabin gave up its secret slowly. Rangers found the cabin, and I wish they hadn't. The rangers went out to the cabin 2 days after my report. They called yesterday with an update, and I wish they hadn't found anything. The cabin belonged to a ranger named Thomas Kershaw, who died in 2019. It's been locked and unused since then, or it was supposed to be. The Polaroids were gone. Completely gone. They searched the entire cabin and found nothing on that table. But they found something in a drawer. A stack of undeveloped film negatives, maybe 30 or 40 frames, tucked inside an old Ranger logbook. They had the film developed at their lab. Every single negative showed me. Sleeping in my tent, hiking through trees, sitting by my fire, filtering water. Different angles, different moments from those 3 days. But in every frame, my face had been scratched out. Not marked or scribbled, gouged. Like someone took something sharp, a knife or nail, and dragged it through the negative over and over where my face was. Deep, violent scratches that tore right through the film. The ranger who called sounded shaken. They've documented everything and sent it to federal authorities. No leads, no suspects, no explanation for how someone got into a locked cabin sealed since 2019. I'm staying with Claire right now. I can't be alone in my apartment. Every time I close my eyes, I see that scratched out face and wonder what the person was thinking while they stood 10 feet from my tent with a camera. Something similar happened to my sister in the Adirondacks in 2019. She found a disposable camera at her campsite with photos of her from that same day. She never found out who left it. Former SAR volunteer here. The fact that your future route was marked is what scares me most. That means either you were followed from the trailhead or someone accessed your plans digitally. Did you share your itinerary with anyone or post it online? Even without posting publicly, there are so many ways someone could access that info. Shared Google calendars, hiking apps that auto-sync, even checking what maps you recently downloaded. OP, please go through every app permission on your devices. She wasn't sleeping well. The investigation hit dead ends. It's been 3 weeks since I got home. The case is still open with both local and federal authorities. No suspects, no leads, no explanation for how someone could have predicted a route I was improvising day by day based on weather and how I felt. The cabin has been sealed as a crime scene. They're monitoring it with trail cameras now. I'm working with a trauma therapist twice a week. She specializes in stalking cases. That's what this is now. An active stalking investigation with my case number and federal involvement. My brother offered to take me on an easy day hike last weekend, just to help me feel safe on trails again. He drove 2 hours to pick me up, brought all my favorite snacks, promised we'd turn back the second I wanted to. I had a full panic attack in the parking lot before we even reached the trailhead. I couldn't get out of the car. He sat with me for an hour while I cried. Solo hiking used to be the one thing that made me feel calm and in control. Now, I can't look at my backpack without my hands shaking. I'm seriously considering moving out of my apartment. 2 weeks ago, I started noticing the same pair of hiking boots outside my building. Different times of day, morning, afternoon, late evening, always positioned near the main entrance. Distinctive tread pattern worn down on the outer heel. The rangers photographed boot impressions near all 3 of my tent sites during their investigation. The pattern matches exactly. I've installed 2 extra deadbolts and a chain lock on my door. I'm looking into getting a dog for protection. Something bigger than my cat and 2 birds can manage if someone breaks in. Claire has been staying over most nights because I wake up screaming from nightmares where I see scratched out faces. I don't know if I'll ever feel safe again, on a trail or in my own home. But she was trying. I'm so sorry this happened to you. The violation of thinking you're alone in nature and being watched is a special kind of nightmare. Please prioritize your safety over finishing the hike. On to the next one.
A stranger gets off the subway at my stop at the exact second I stand up, every single day, and I've tested it 40 plus times. She thought it was pattern recognition at first. I'm a paralegal working at a firm downtown. I take the Red Line every morning. Not a precise schedule, just whatever train shows up between 7:45 and 8:15. I live alone, my apartment's about 15 minutes from the station, and my routine is pretty standard. Wake up, coffee, subway, work. 6 weeks ago, I started noticing a man who gets off at my stop. Mid-30s, average height, always wearing the same gray jacket. Not unusual. It's a busy station, lots of regulars. Except he doesn't just get off at my stop. He gets off at the exact moment I stand up to exit. Not when the train stops, not when the doors open. The second I rise from my seat, he moves. Every single time. I thought I was seeing patterns where there weren't any. Confirmation bias, the brain's desperate need to find meaning in coincidence. But I started testing it. Switch cars? He was there. Left earlier one week? There. Later the next? There. I even took 3 random days off last month to completely break the pattern. First day back? There he was. He never looks at me, never follows me beyond the platform, just exits at that exact second and disappears into the crowd. This morning I really tested it. Stayed seated past my stop, rode 2 extra stations, then doubled back on the next train. He wasn't there. Took my normal route home tonight. There he was again, same gray jacket. This time I watched his wrist. His smartwatch buzzed a full second before I stood up. I was completely still. Hadn't shifted weight, hadn't checked my phone, hadn't done anything. I was sitting there deciding randomly when to stand, and his watch told him first. The precision isn't human. Something is feeding him my movements, and I don't know what. She would spend the next 2 weeks trying to find out how. She spent the next week trying to prove herself wrong. I've been documenting everything. I bought a small notebook and I write down every detail. Which car I board, what time, where I sit, when I stand. The tests have gotten more elaborate. Monday. Boarded the last car instead of my usual middle. He was there, gray jacket, smartwatch buzz, exact same timing. Tuesday. Took the 7:52 train instead of my normal 8:05. He was there. Wednesday. Got on at a different station 2 stops early, rode past my usual stop, got off 3 stations later. He wasn't there, but when I took my normal route home that evening, there he was again. Thursday and Friday. Alternated between Blue Line and Red Line. Red Line days, he appeared. Blue Line, nothing. Saturday I broke my whole routine, stayed home, didn't take the subway at all. Sunday I took a bus downtown just to see. No gray jacket, no smartwatch. Monday morning, back on the Red Line. There he was, like he'd been waiting. I told Simone last night over drinks at our usual place. She's my best friend. We've known each other since college, and I needed someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. I laid it all out, the timing, the tests, the smartwatch buzz that comes before I even move. I expected her to laugh it off or tell me I was reading too much into coincidence. Instead, she went completely quiet, stared at her wine glass for a long moment. Then she looked up and said, "You're being tracked somehow. That's the only explanation." Hearing someone else say it out loud made it real in a way my notebook full of observations hadn't. Simone started asking all the right questions. Had I checked my bag for AirTags? Was my phone's location sharing turned on? Had I noticed anyone following me home from the station? She was genuinely concerned, leaning forward, taking me seriously. Not dismissive. She made me feel validated instead of paranoid. But here's the part I keep circling back to. He never follows me beyond the platform. Never looks directly at me. The second the subway doors close behind us, he's absorbed into the crowd, gone like smoke. I've never seen him on the street, never spotted him near my building or my office. It's not his presence that's keeping me awake. It's the precision, the impossibility of it. Someone or something knows exactly when I'm going to stand up, down to the second, before I've even decided. Something knew exactly where she was, every second of every day. She escalated from observation to investigation. I took 3 vacation days last week. Not for rest, to break the pattern. I varied everything. Different times, different routes. One day, I stayed home entirely. First day back at work, normal red line commute. There he was. Gray jacket, smartwatch buzz, perfect timing. I switched to taking the bus for 5 straight days. No subway, no gray jacket, no timing anomaly. Friday, I went back to the red line. He reappeared instantly. I started documenting everything with photos. Timestamps, route logs, which car, where I sit. 47 entries now. Simone came over last weekend and we analyzed it all together, trying to trace the source. Her theory? GPS tracker hidden in my bag, or my phone's compromised. We spent Saturday tearing through my belongings, emptied my work bag completely, checked every seam and pocket for AirTags. Nothing. Sunday, I backed up my phone and factory reset it. Monday morning, with fresh settings, he was still there. Exact same timing. I bought completely new clothes, new bag, different coat. It didn't change anything. Simone keeps saying we'll figure this out together, that there's an explanation somewhere. She's been incredibly steady while I'm unraveling at the edges. I check my apartment for cameras now. I vary my walking route home every day. I eat lunch at my desk because I'm terrified of establishing new patterns that can be tracked. The man in the gray jacket has never once looked directly at me, never followed me beyond the platform, and that somehow makes it worse. I'm not even worth acknowledging, just a piece of data being monitored. This is absolutely terrifying. Have you considered changing your routine completely, or maybe working from home for a while? I used to take the same line downtown, and this gave me chills. The precision you're describing isn't humanly possible without tech. Stay safe, OP. Has he ever made direct eye contact with you, or does he completely ignore you? I'm trying to understand if he wants you to know he's there. Never once. He keeps his head down, exits the platform in the opposite direction from where I go. It's like I don't exist to him, which somehow makes it so much worse. If he wanted to scare me, wouldn't he at least look at me? She would find the answer in the last place she expected. The source had been there the entire time. I found out who was feeding him my location. I was going through my phone settings again last night, checking permissions for the 3rd time this week, when I found it buried in an old app I'd completely forgotten about. A location sharing app Simone and I installed for a camping trip 8 months ago. It was still active. She'd had live access to my location this entire time. I drove to her apartment immediately. Didn't call, didn't text, just showed up at 11 p.m. and knocked until she answered. She knew the second she saw my face. I held up my phone with the app open and said, "Explain this." She broke down instantly, started crying before I'd even finished the sentence, and then she told me everything. The man in the gray jacket is her brother. His name is David, 34, male. After Simone was stalked by an ex last year, something she'd told me about, something I'd helped her through, she became completely obsessed with the idea that I was vulnerable too, that I wasn't taking my safety seriously enough, that someone could be tracking me and I'd never even notice. So she decided to prove it to me. She gave David access to my location feed, told him to meet me at the subway platform at the exact moment I stood up to exit, every single day, for as long as it took for me to notice. The smartwatch buzz was a timer she set based on my live location, when I was about to reach the station.
She thought if she scared me enough, I'd finally understand how exposed I was. She thought she was protecting me. She kept saying it over and over. I thought I was keeping you safe. I thought you needed to see how easy it is. I thought you'd thank me eventually. The obsession spiraled completely out of control, and she couldn't stop. Even when she saw me unraveling, even when I cried to her about it, even when she sat in my apartment last weekend helping me search for tracking devices, she couldn't stop. I left without saying another word. The fact that he knows the exact second you stand up is what gets me. That's not normal observation, that's active surveillance. Check every app permission on your phone. The smartwatch detail is crucial. He's definitely getting a real-time signal from something. Check your bag, your coat pockets, everything you carry daily. The fact that this works across completely different routes and schedules means he has real-time GPS data on you. This is way beyond coincidence or pattern recognition. Exactly what I was thinking. OP needs to factory reset her phone, check for hidden AirTags in her belongings, and maybe get a completely new device with a new number. She cut the cord completely. I blocked Simone on everything the next morning. Phone, social media, email. I told our mutual friends what happened. Not all the details, just enough so they'd understand why I wasn't going to be around if she was. The subway man is gone. David hasn't appeared once since I confronted her. Simone must have told him to stop. My morning commute is quiet now, just another face in the crowd, exactly like it should be. But I check over my shoulder constantly. I vary my route home, even though there's no reason to anymore. I deleted every location sharing app on my phone and turned off all tracking permissions except maps. I can't tell the difference between protection and control anymore. The line got erased somewhere along the way. My mother keeps calling from upstate, asking me to move home for a while. She thinks the city isn't safe, that I need family around me. I told her no. I'm not letting this break my routine or make me afraid of the place I've built my life. That would mean Simone won. I started therapy 2 weeks ago. It helps, slowly. We talk a lot about trust, about how to rebuild it, about how some people's trauma turns them into exactly what hurt them in the first place. The worst part is that I miss her. Not the person she actually was, the person who tracked me for 6 weeks, who watched me unravel and said nothing, who sat in my apartment helping me search for devices she knew weren't there. I miss the person I thought she was, the best friend who would never hurt me. That person never existed. I'm learning to be alone for real now. Not just living alone, but actually being alone, without someone watching. It's quieter than I expected. Some days that's terrifying. Most days, it's a relief. Please tell me you filed a police report. This is stalking, full stop. Document everything with dates and times. This reads like something out of a Black Mirror episode, but I absolutely believe you. Trust your instincts, and please be careful. And that's the last story for today.